I have done my undergraduation from Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, Awadh University, Faizabad. I am very grateful to uh, all the faculties and the research scholars, especially Rajnikant Pandey sir and Vikas Shukla sir, who have provided uh, such a very nice and innovative platform for us to elaborate more ideas and to discuss on this platform. So, without wasting much time, I would like to introduce my topic, that is on Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Renaissance in India. So, before starting my topic, I would like to give a background, or you can say I want to give a blueprint what I will discuss, because it is a very broad topic, and I have divided in several parts. So, firstly, I would discuss introduction, that is also the background of the topic. Then I'll discuss Renaissance meaning and various stages of it, whether is in the world or in India. Then I'll discuss Raja Ram Mohan Roy in a very gist format, you can say at a glance. Now, then I'll discuss family and his early life. Nextly, I'll discuss Brahma Samaj founded by him. I'll discuss religious thought, his metaphysical foundation. Moreover, I'll discuss that how he is known as first truly international thinker of India. Nextly, I'll discuss his political views, and afterwards, I will discuss his thought on political economy. That is my favorite part. And next, I would like to discuss first and foremost how he became first and foremost social reformer of modern India. That is his education views, how he has become the champion of women rights, how he has abolished the sati pratha, and a Unitarian journalist, and humanism and universal realism. So, without wasting much more time, uh, I would like to start with some. So, just form that what is the whole lecture? What is the crux of the whole lecture? Since it is a very broad topic, so it one quotation, and that is also well known by every one of you, that is which reflects his ideology, that if a country has to prosper, it is not enough to emphasize on ancient culture and action. Without forgetting them, the country should develop the knowledge and strength suited to the world of today. So this quotation itself reflects his scientific ideology, because we all know he was the first social scientific scientific ideologue. He has given the Renaissance in India. He is known as the Renaissance thinker. So he said that if a country has to prosper, it has to become a developed country. It should moreover focusing on ancient culture. It should focus on the strength of the world of the today, how it is known. So Rajaram Mohan Roy, who is regarded as the promulgator of the modern age in Indian history and especially in Bengal, was contemporary of Hegel and was 17 years old when French Revolution began. His father was Vaishnava and his mother was of Sakta. He learned Persia and Arabic at Patna. He, his study of Islamic metaphysics, sociology, made him critical of some of the Hindu religion practices. At Banaras, he studied the ancient Indian scriptures in Sanskrit. He had a deep quest of religious truth and also embarked upon a study of the Lamist Buddhism at Tibet. He was a tradition-loving person also, but it relevant for today. He was a social reformer who was convincing the everybody through his knowledge. He was an admirer of the Christ, but never thought to be converted. He believed in each and every religion. He questioned the Brahminical system. He is known as the first feminist, a gift monotheist book rejected the blind faith of religion. He made a drastic shift to religion to reason. He always wanted to the things to be questioned. He always wanted the things to be reasoned, rational, rationalize the things, advance the things. He wanted to convert his own countrymen to rational thinkers. He translated Vedanta so that Britishers can uh, better understand the apprehension of religion and the superstitions which have nothing to do with the spirit of it dictates. He talked about the law of inheritance. So this is the view of Raja Ram Mohan Roy that every religion has some uh, practices which are evil also, which believe in superstitions also. He wanted to remove all the evils from the that religion practices. In 1933, at a meeting held to commemorate the centenary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy's death, several thinkers like Rabindranath Tagore, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, and Bipin Chandra Pal spoke of him as the father of modern India. In his address entitled Inaugurator of the Modern Age in India, Tagore referred to Raja Ram Mohan Roy as a luminous star in the firmament of Indian history. By his numerous tracts, pamphlets, and memoranda and books and public activities for religions, social, education, economic and political reforms, Raja Ram Mohan Roy inaugurated the economic and political reforms. He also he is also known as the Age of Enlightenment and liberal reformist modernization in India. His draw on his wide knowledge of Perso-Arabic, classical Greek and Western thought. He has learned as many as languages such as Persian, Arabic, Sanskrit, English, Urdu, Hindi, Greek. People say that he has the knowledge of 17 different languages which influenced the contemporary events as the French Revolution, the freedom movements in Naples, Spain, Ireland, and Latin America. Hence, his thinking. Hello, hello, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're
Sorry
audible,
for
sir.
sorry for the inconvenience.
So-
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Continue the
Um.
lecture.
Okay. Okay. So I was telling about the French Revolution. It doesn't mean the French Revolution of 1789. We also had French Revolution 1830, 1848. Hence, he as a reformer thinker, when he came to India, this had been acknowledged amongst others like Bentham, C.F. Andrew, Brajendranath Seal, and Rabindranath Tagore. Andrew called him the pioneer of the whole world movement. While Bentham, before he met Raja Ram Mohan Roy, during the letters visits to England, addressed him in a letter as an intensely admired and deeply beloved collaborator in the service of mankind. Tagore also described and tried to unite India with the rest of the world. His vision was not dimmed by obsolete conventions and customs. His generous heart and his equally generous mind prompted him to accept the message of the West without belittling the East. He taught us that truth belongs to all men, that we Indians belongs to the whole world. We Indians belongs to the whole world. It depicts of the internationalist Raja Ram Mohan Roy extended India's consciousness in time and space. Now again, Vijendranath uh, said that the Brahmo philosopher has explained the significance of Raja Ram Mohan Roy's contribution for a right understanding and estimate of the India's thought and the utterance. It is necessary to bear in mind the two essentially distinct but dispensable parts which the Raja played on the historic stage. There was a Raja, there was a Ram, there was a Mohan. All around the rationalist thinker, the representative man with a universal outlook on human civilization and its historic mass. Out there was another equally part played by the Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the nationalist reformer and the renovator of national scriptures and revelation. Because he has translated so many Indian scriptures for the Englishmen so that they can understand our culture, they can understand our learnings, the beauty of our nature, the beauty of our scriptures. So he has translated so many scriptures. Now, before going to the further subtopics, I would like to discuss the main part that is the Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Uh, in our childhood, we have studied that I remember when I was in class 6 or 7, there was so many chapters in history and civics, and in the last there was the keywords, 2 3 years. The Renaissance. It was so shortly written that we used to say that we can learn it easily. It means revival, comma rebirth. So it was so easy for it. So, but it has a huge meaning. It doesn't mean that revival, rebirth. What is that? But we don't understand at that time. But now we understand this time that this is a huge meaning, and it is fully related with Raja Ram Mohan Roy. From India in the transition from the Middle Ages to modernity and covering the 15th and 16th century. Modernity and covering the 15th, 16th century means the crisis of the late Middle Ages to other parts of the world. It occurred after the crisis of the late Middle Ages and was associated with great social change. In addition to the standard periods, uh, which propels the long Renaissance, may put its beginning in the 14th century and its end in the 17th century. The traditional view focuses more on the early modern aspect of the Renaissance and argues that it was a break from the past, but many historians today focuses more on its medieval aspects and argue that it was an extension of Middle Ages. The intellectual basis of the Renaissance was its various of the humanism derived from the concept of Roman humanities and the rediscovery of classical Greek philosophy, such as that of Protagoras, who said that the man is the measure of all things. The new thinking became manifest in art. The new thinking became architecture in politics and literature. The new thinking, which became the cultural movement, the Renaissance, and compiled the innovating flowering of Latin and vernacular literatures. Beginning with the 14th century, resurgence of learning uh, century based on classical sources, which contemporaries classical sources classified and credited to Petrarch the development of the linear perspective and other techniques of the rendering a more natural reality. Renaissance contributed to the development of the customs and the conversations of diplomacy, which is which deals with the political studies, which deals with the political aspect and science to an increased reliance on observation and inductive reasoning. So this is very important part that if we are talking about the Renaissance, which talks about the customs and the convention of diplomacy and science to an increased reliance, which uh, motivates more towards the scientific advancements of the things, scientific advancements of the social science. That is the main inductive reasoning. The patriarch is traditionally called the father of humanity of consider and considered by many to be father of Renaissance. The Renaissance also witnessed the discovering and exploration of new continents. It's explored the new. It doesn't mean that it's just the new ideas. It also explored the many continents, subcontinents, substitutions of uh, uh, Ptolemaic system of astronomy, the decline of feudal system. We are going from darkness to enlightenment. So three things Raja Ram Mohan Roy has pointed out that how Renaissance came. Renaissance came when gaining knowledge. When we are towards the gaining of knowledge, then we will get the information, and then we are back to the enlightenment, and then there is the Renaissance. The growth of commerce and the invention or application of such uh, potentially powerful innovation as paper printing, um, Gutenberg's The Mariner's Compass, and the gunpowder to the scholars and thinkers of the day. However, it was primarily a time of revival of classical learning and wisdom after a long period of cultural decline and signifying things. So, coming towards uh, the time of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. East India colonial rule center in Kolkata was expanded in all parts of capitalist education, etc. were introduced. He studied Arabic and Persian, which I have already told, in Patna, Sanskrit in Banaras, English later on a company official. Besides Bengali and Sanskrit, Roy had mastered Arabic, French, so many things, so many leading languages. He had studied the 17 languages, which have I have already discussed. Now, I would like to talk about his career. He worked in Murshidabad as company official from 1803 to 1814, mainly uh, John Dugby moved to Kolkata, Zamindar, money lending, investing in trading houses. One more interesting thing I would like to tell about Rajaram Mohan Roy that he was more interested in investment because his father was the Jamidar and he was also interested in investing things, trading houses, advocacy, educationist, socio-religious reformers, writers, and journalists. So basically, he was not confined himself to one career oriented. He says that if we want to achieve our goal, we have to diversify the things. We have to explore our introspection. We have to talk to ourselves about our uh, uh, talent, about our research, what we want to achieve in future. If we talk about the 1830, he went to England with many purposes. One was requesting more pension to Mughal king Akbar II, who gave him the title of Raja. Then, if you talk about his books, uh, Tufat ul Muhaddin, A Gift to Monotheism, 1803, The Percepts of Jesus, that is the guide, and nextly, The Peace of Happiness, written in 1820, Modern Encroachment on the Ancient Rights of Females, 1822. Nextly, he wrote The Universal Religion, 1829, which elaborates the idea of religious reforms in India as well as in Europe. Um, Moreover, he wrote a History of Indian Philosophy in 1829, which describes the Renaissance and the era of um, darkness and the era of the movement of uh, darkness from the Enlightenment era. On many translations of Vedantic texts and Upanishads in Hindi, Bengali, and English, he wrote many journals such as Bamekal Magazine, Bengali Weekly, Samvad Comedy, Persian Weekly, Mehraj Al Akbar, English Weekly, Bengal Gazette. And he formed the many societies such as Army Sabha in 1815, the Calcutta Association in 1821, the Brahma Sabha in 1828. And if you talk about his educational institutions, I'll talk later on because I have divided in another part. But in brief, I would like to tell that he was associated with Hindu College, the Anglo-Hindu Vedant College. Now, right from his young age, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was devoted to Lord Vishnu, and he would not put down the Bhagavanta without completing the reading of Valmiki Ramayana. But when he came to know that his mother also was fasting, he had his food for her sake. In the 14th year, when he was at the age of 14, he was about to become a monk. But his mother came in his way, and under his father's roof, he received the elements of native education and also learned the Persian language. From that age only, he started to learn many languages and he started to study when the Muslim rule in India, the language used was Persian. So proper knowledge of Persian was very essential to get employment or to correspond with the government. He was afterwards sent to Patna to learn Arabic and lastly to Banaras to obtain a knowledge of Sanskrit. His teacher at Patna set him to study Arabic translations of some of the writings of Aristotle and Euclid. It is probable that the training thus given strengthened his mind in acuteness and close reasoning, while the knowledge which he acquired of the Islam religion from Muslim, he estimated that contribution to cause of the searching of the examination of the faith in which he was educated, which led him eventually to the important efforts he made to restore it to its early simplicity. Believers of God that believe in India during that period worship idols, and the pictures of the some during the that period worship idol of the pictures of the same, and the Raja Ram Mohan Roy wondered over the existence of God in any such form. He was do have belief at the age of 13, at the age of 15, but from then only he started questioning himself. He started avoiding that. He did not believe in idol worship. He opposed them and also religious festivals at home. He do not take part in that religious festival at all. On the other hand, his father, who was a very firm believer in idol worship, felt Rajaram was going some wrong way, and he is doing some wrong thing, and he will be punished by the God. He always used to say that if we take shower in Ganga, and if we give money to the prophet, the father of the church, then we will get some compensation from the punishment from the God. So this is very. He was very. This has become mimicry for him. These religious belief and faith. So owing to differences with his father, Radha Ram Mohan left the house, and at the age of 15, he left his parental home and wandered for 2 or 3 years in Tibet and Himalayas, where he learned the Buddhist and Tantric traditions. 3 years for the study in Buddhism, and the 1.5 years in Tantra. Later on, he received his education in Sanskrit language and Sanskrit literature as well. After his marriage, he went to Banaras and studied the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Hindu philosophy deeply, because he wanted to convey the right thing, because he knew very well that the misinterpretation was done by several priests, by several Sufi saints, and he wanted to avoid that. He wanted to kill that evils from the society. When his father died in 1803, Rajaram Mohan Roy returned home. After returning from there, again he turned his attention in studying the ancient book of Hindus in Sanskrit and other languages at the home. He published his first writing, uh, Tufat, Tufat-ul Muhaddin, as a small pamphlet on monotheism and a protest against the idolatry of all religions, and his rational mind did not permit him to accept the prevailing beliefs and arguments in favor of the religious customs. Now came 1803, he began to work for the East India Company to Revenue Department, which I have already told you that he learned English under the guidance of the Mr. Digby and read the works of contemporary European writers on politics, history, law, and economics. He was very fond of commerce also, journalism also. In 1809, he was transferred to Rangpur as Diwan to the collector of the district. Thereafter, he took retirement from the service of 1815 and settled down in Calcutta. Raja Ram Mohan Roy lived in a period when child marriage and sati was highly practiced among the people in society. Wives were burned along with their children, and children were burned along with their parents. Whether she belonged to the Brahmin religion, whether she belonged to the Kshatriya religion, whether she belonged to the Vaishya religion, he had high regard for them. He felt to know about the religious customs. There are so many misinterpretations. There are so many misconfusions. There, he preached for equality among men and women and said people should also give up superstitious belief. Tried to bring about a change in society, and as a result, gathering few like-minded people for the process, and association of such close friends was formed. It was called Atma Sabha. Yes, it was that association where religious discussions took place. It was that association where
where the members had to give up idol worship. They had to spread the society's views on religion among the people. When they were discussing about the giving up idol worship, they all had to believe in one religion, that religion is one, and we all humans are same. When Roy was in Calcutta, he made immense contributions for the betterment for the poor people. He visited the houses of the poor and needy people in slums and talked to them and helped them out with the food and money. Raja Ram Mohan Roy had three wives before the age of 10, which was also a result of the old custom practices. His first wife died in childhood. He had two sons, Radha Prasad, born in 1800, and Ram Prasad, born in 1812, and his second wife died in 1824. He was survived by his third wife. So that was all about his early life and family. Now, I would like to talk about the Brahmo Samaj. Brahmo Samaj, uh, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Brahmo Samaj were literally denotes communities of men and who worship Brahman and are interlinked. Raja Ram Mohan Roy had crucial role towards the foundation of Brahmo Samaj. The Brahmo Samaj was set up on 20th August 1828 and formed a for strong platform for the Raja Ram Mohan Roy expression of universal worship. And at the beginning, weekly services were organized every Saturday, and they used to discuss about the uh, practices, superstitions, and how to resolve these problems. Uh, at one day on Brahma Mandir of Rabindranath Tagore Santiniketan in the Bardam district of West Bengal, when earlier Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his admirers and followers used to attend prayers in the church of Christian sect, disciple of Raja Ram Mohan Roy wondered that why they should not have a prayer hall of their own. Raja Ram Mohan Roy approved this idea as a result. They hired a building, opened a prayer hall called Brahmo Samaj, and from there it started. The members of the organization used to meet every Saturday. Vedic hymns and music of Upanishads were chanted by scholars. Religious discourses were held where Raja Ram Mohan Roy recited religious poems composed by him. Muslims and Christian boys sang songs in Persian and religion. They're all rationalist and they're all believe in one God, one religion. Many Hindus and people from foreign lands also attended these meetings. There's only one God. None equals him. He has no end. He is present in all living things. He is present in all living beings. This was the faith of the Brahmas. There was the message of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and there was Brahma Samaj did not recognize differences of caste, creed, sex, race, or nationality. It emphasized the idea of universal brotherhood. It emphasized the idea of universal nationalism. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, through Brahma Samaj, highly emphasized that all men are equal and had full faith in brotherhood of man. The Brahma Samaj opposed many evils which were prevalent in the Indian society, such as casteism, polygamy, child marriage, sati practices. Much for his long and successful life, he successfully of their husband. He articles to show that the uh, sacred books of Hindus did not sanction sati and appeal to the reason. I later on tell that how this abolition of sati happened because there was the reason and there was in from the childhood textbooks we are studying that Raja Ram Mohan Roy abolished sati patha, but we have to study in a structured way. So the right of sati was the most furious social evil in the 18th and the early 19th century. The sati practice was prevalent in the Hindu society. from a long time past, from ancient time, it is known to have been in vogue. After visiting Vijayanagar, in an Italian traveler in 1421 wrote that at the same time, in a large number of women had to die on the funeral of their husbands. Akbar tried to separate this practice among the Hindus, but it also said the earlier Jahangir too made a law of death penalty for this offense. So there was basically evils prevailed in society, and no king Mughal emperor was able to uh, finish it off. Some rulers of ancient times tried to abolish this evil practice. The Peshwa Bajirao abolished it in the domain in the tenure of Lord Cornwallis. Some officers were permitted to remove this evil practice by force, but they did not because they have to pass the bill firstly. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy opposed this practice, and a case had occurred in his own family when the widow of his elder brother Jagmohan Roy committed sati in 1811. His old, his own sister-in-law committed sati in 1811. Raja Ram Mohan Roy published many books in Bengali and also in English for defense of practice of sati in 1818. His first tract was published and in 1819, in second one in Bengali and translated then in 1820. Raja Ram Mohan Roy said in his works of Hindu authorities of religion, Manu was the greatest, the most famous, and the trustworthy lawgiver might alone would be equal to any those others put together. He cited, let her emancipate her body by living voluntary on pure flowers, roots, and fruits, but let her not, when her lord is diseased, when pronounce the name of the another man, let her till death, forgiving all injuries, performing harsh duties, avoiding every seasonal pleasure, and cheerful practicing incomparable rules of virtue, which has been followed by such women as were devoted to only one husband. He further quoted the views contained in Bhagavad Gita that science by which knowledge of God is attained is superior to all other knowledge. So that tract also published in 1819. And he further said that the practice, therefore, of forcibly tying down women to burning them to the death is inconsistent with the Shastras and highly sinful. So this is all about the Brahmo Samaj. And next, I would like to discuss on religious thoughts and metaphysical foundation of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He was a great humanist. He believed in universality of religion. He believed in tolerance, cooperation, and wanted knowledge-based society. Speaking of religion is very difficult, but he did. He gave a rationalist interpretation to religion. He was a well-versed in many religions. He advocated monotheism. He was deeply inspired by the Upanishads, but on the other hand, he criticized the highly Hindu tradition. Basically, he was in oppose of the superstitions that was prevailed in the society, that was prevailed in the Hindu tradition. He gave complete autonomy to individual, highly sense of religion. He was happy. He started Brahmo Samaj. We are living would we are towards, but we don't have to disrespect. We have to question the religion. We have to question ourselves that what we are doing. We should have faith, but we should follow one religion. We should follow one God. He do believe in Islam also. It was Raja Ram Mohan Roy who Brahmin among Brahmins, Christians among Christians, and Muslim among Muslims. So he was that kind of personality. So if we talk about the metaphysical foundation of Roy's monistic He taught the concept of goodness of an almighty monism or the uh, Upanishad. He was also related himself with several religions. He studied, then he criticized. He translated into English from poetic Upanishad, Isha, Kena, Katha, and Mundaka also. So, nextly, I would like to discuss why he is known as first truly international thinker of India. So, let us go with it. Why Raja Ram Mohan Roy is known as first truly international thinker of modern India. To him, all kinds. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Hello?
audible. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir, you are
Thank you.
audible.
Okay. To him, all mankind are one great family of which numerous nations and tribes are only various branches. So he said that if in a family there is a head of the family and all others are the members of the family. In the same way, our world is a family and the nation is the unit. Nation is the branches, nation is the member. Hence, independence, cooperation, and moving together hand in hand is required. Then, at that time, he gave the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Like one tree, we are like one unit, one branch. For him, like Tagore, nationalism was more like a chain than liberating idea. Believed in fundamental unit of all religions, synthesis of all culture into rationalist. There is no difference between India and Europe. Now, he was more rejoiced in French Revolution of 1830 that took place in 1848, 1789, Spain, Portugal, Latin America, Naples. The passage of Reform Bill in British Parliament grieved, and he was not bounded himself with India. He traveled so many countries to attain the knowledge of religion, to the uh, attain the of supremacy of the authority, and he believed in the constitutional reforms. And at that time, you can see his foresightedness that he has given the proposal of World Congress. Uh, he was so in this part we can see his foresightedness that he can say that if the world is happy, I am happy. If the world is unhappy, I am also unhappy. He said that we have to make one World Congress composed of an equal number of members from Parliament of each country, all matters of political or economic differences. At that time, 200 years ago, where to be discussed and sorted out all the problems of the world, and there should be one chairman. We can see here is how aware and advanced he was. So this shade of Raja Ram Mohan Roy has the scientific advancement and the foresightedness that he can assume the things, he can sort out the things with these types of association. Now there is a United Nations, there is a European Union, so many other organizations as well as regional organizations. He could think the challenges of the country. He could assume the analysis to be roamed and to gain, attain the enlightenment, and that's why he's known as the Renaissance thinker. He said that there should be the chairman of International Congress of every society, and must be chosen with the majority, and the problem should be tackled each year. There should be the session, there should be the meeting. So you can see then after that League of Nations and European Union and United Nations was made. Now, what was his political thoughts? He was a liberal utilitarian, supported limited constitution and government rule of impersonal laws, individual rights, life, liberty, equality, but more active role of state in social reform and improving socio-economic conditions of poor marginalized. He was uh, he was also broke the private public domain dichotomy. In India, we have seen that from 1991 there was globalization, but that time he was trying to break the private public dichotomy. He could realize the need of free trade, difference between the public and the private dichotomy. He was so much interested in public administration. He was so much interested to liberate the trade and taxes differences. Because liberty and rights is a political domain, and it is meaningless unless the civil society is reformed. Hence, he supported British rule as it was better in modernizing the things and extending the civil rights than in tyrannical and despotic Muslim and Rajput rulers. Though separation of power also from the Montesquieu he has adopted. So now his theory of personal and political freedom. If we talk about his theory of personal and political freedom, though it is like Grotius law of Thomas Paine, Raja Ram Mohan Roy accepted the immutable sanctity of natural rights. He believed not only in the natural rights of life, but also he believes in the pursuit of property. But he was also champion of the moral rights of the individual. He, like Montesquieu, Voltaire, and Rousseau, had a passionate attachment to the concept of liberty. Hence, he supported British rule as it was better in moderating and modernizing, forming Indian society and extending civil rights than the tyrannical and despotic Muslim and Rajput rulers. We can comprehend also that how Muslim rulers and Rajput rulers were despotic at that time. So it was anti-monarchist against. He was anti-monarchist against the despotic rulers. Constitutional government best guarantor of individual freedom and rights. He was moreover same as J.S. Mill. If we talk about, if we try to compare with J.S. Mill, he was more like him because he also talks about political freedom, self-governing only after social reform and civil rights, and separation of powers, British Parliament working laws for India, and codification of laws, and the judicial reform, more Indians in higher bureaucracy and jury services. Substitution of English for Persian as the court language, because they were Englishmen were more like very rude towards their language, and they wanted to continue the same as a court language. So that was all about his political views and metaphysical foundation. Now I would like to discuss his thought on political economy. As we all know, what is political economy? Economy, the part of economy which is affected with the politics, that is all about political economy. Contradiction between his liberal and capitalist and feudal aristocratic value. He was there was many differences. There was many contradictions also. He was a who earned money lending, free trade under evolving colonial political economy. He supported right property on same logic as the Locke. Also supported the British capitalist system for individual rights and socio-economic progress than the despotic monarchical rules and feudal economic system. He advocated reforms in permanent settlement. He wanted to be more rationalist, and he wanted the things that not to be against with the farmers and not to be against with the jamidars. If jamidar will be allotted more taxes, then they will force on the farmers, and less revenue demand should be better condition of actual killers, security of tenants, supported free trade and ending monopoly of East India Company on British trade in India and China. And he also opposed heavy export duties imposed on Indian goods. And if we talk about the he also wanted to end ye, he, Mansabdari system. He was the first one to figure out drain of wealth. Because we all see that drain of wealth on British rule in India, the book written by Dadabhai Naroji. So he was the first to talk about the drain of wealth under colonial rule. East India Company was flowing approximately 3 million pounds a year from India to England. Less tax on zamindar so that farmers should not be treated badly by them. There should be less tax on them. Because अगर जमींदार पर ज्यादा फोर्स करेंगे तो जमींदार भी फोर्स फार्मर्स से ज्यादा करता था उस टाइम। तो वो चाहते थे कि उनका जो टैक्स हो जमींदार का वो कम हो जाए, जिससे फार्मर्स पे भी काफी कम टैक्स लगे और उनसे कम लगान वसूल किया जाए। तो उनका जो ये पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमी का आइडिया था जो बहुत पहले दे दिया गया था, जैसे कि ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ उन्होंने थ्योरी दी थी, बहुत पहले दे दी थी, जो कि बाद में दादा भाई नौरोजी जी दी थी। उनकी किताब थी ब्रिटिश एंड ब्रिटिश रूल इन इंडिया, ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ उनकी एक थ्योरी थी। तो sorry, poverty and British rule in India. I was forgetting the name. So that's why he was also the champion of political economy. Now, nextly, if we talk about the uh, first and foremost social reformers of modern India, then if I would like to tell you that about his educational reforms, how he has done the educational reforms. Further to religion and sati practice, Raja Ram Mohan Rai attention was called by education. He led case on education and instrument for the liberation of man from all kinds of evil and degenerating influence in life. He was the pioneer of modern education in India. I've already discussed all these things because he knows 17 languages. He founded the first English school, Anglo-Indian Hindu school in Kolkata in 1822. So he was more interested in the scientific and the philosophical knowledge. And educational reforms of Raja Ram Mohan Roy improved the learning system in the and I think many people are getting bored. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Hello.
audible. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are
Oh,
audible. Continue the lecture, please.
okay, okay. So he believed in educational reforms. By this, we will conclude that he, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was the foremost social reformer of India. He was the Renaissance thinker of India. So by these two, 3 points, I would like to conclude. We may take 2 to 3 minutes more. The socio-economic and the political condition of the 19th century India made the learning and education necessary in India. The learning of English and Western education became indispensable. However, the historians have opinion that primarily the economic factor was responsible for the introduction of the English language and the Western literature in British India. A system of education was necessary which could help to live livelihood. Due to these circumstances, the education became has expected many forms of Mohandra not only liberated sectors of the superstition but also raw belief and implement for social reform. He protested against the government policy to strengthen the Sanskrit colleges in the presidency towns of Kolkata, Banaras, and Chennai. Urged for the establishment of more Oriental colleges. He wanted that education, Sanskrit education, should not be just be tracked in the grammatical languages because students used to be very keen to understand other language as well. And Sanskrit language was very difficult for them grammatically. So Rajaram Rohan Roy was the chief advocate of learning more and more other languages and modern process of education and the scientific learning. Therefore, he helped the British government to promote more liberal and enlightened system in learning. In the new system of education, he introduced the subjects of practical use like astronomy, mathematics, natural philosophy, chemistry, anatomy, with other useful sciences. He was the only, you won't believe it, he was the only one who said that there is a social science, there is no social study. So, social is also a science because we believe in researches, we believe in facts, we do lots of surveys. So, that's why everybody is orientations of the culture. The protest of Rajaram Mohan Roy found expression when the government was agreed to encourage the study of English as well as the other Oriental languages. A grant was sanctioned for the Kolkata Hindu College, which was set up in 1817, which I have already discussed. That Hindu College was set up with the intention of imparting education in English. So further, he was very much interested in Western humanities and the sciences. Today, we are seeing that California University and Columbia University basically provide the political economy. These two are the first university that provide the study of political science in political economy besides other sciences. But before 200 years ago, he foresighted that the humanities and Western education should be related with the political economy. Rajaram Mohan Roy formed an association of English and Hindu scholars. He started a college also and arranged for teaching of modern subjects like English, science, mathematics, and political science. Not only had the introduction of Western education, but also promoted the growth and prosperity of women education. He was the first to introduce women studies. He strongly believed that unless the women folk were educated, the society should not be liberated from the evils. Uh, जहां तक वो एक ईवल को खत्म करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, साथ ही साथ वो ये भी कोशिश कर रहे थे कि हमारे इंडिया का, हमारे जो अदर स्टेट्स हैं, हमारे अलग अलग जो कल्चर्स हैं, ट्रेडिशंस हैं, उनको हम इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज में ट्रांसलेट करें, इससे हमारे अदर नेशंस के लोग भी जान पाए और हमारे कल्चर को अडॉप्ट कर पाए. जैसे उन्होंने वुमेन फोक्स का जिक्र किया. वुमेन फोक्स में वुमेन डांसेस को प्रमोट किया जाता. विमेन कल्चर was promoted as well as the food made by women was also promoted. The Rajaram Mohan Roy promoted Western education along with that the great education progress in the uh, history of India. Now, how he was the champion of women rights. He is known as the champion of women rights. Uh, um, if Gandhiji was the great in modern times, Rajaram Mohan Roy was greatest because he talked about equal education for women rights before 150 years ago. Again, I repeat, Sati Pratha, which is imprinted in our heart and mind. We can say that he linked improvement in women's on as the women national identity, not limit right only to equality with men, but link it to compassion, justice, liberty, right as a matter of faith. What are the root cause of the miserable condition of women? He picked out the root cause that there is no property and no inheritance rights. So he said that there was no property given to the women. There was a system of polygamy. A man could marry 20 women, and if so, that was the main reason. So they were not allotting any property and inheritance rights to women. So कि आज की डेट में अगर हम कोई सपोज दैट वन मैन मैरिज टू विमेन, देन कंपेंसेशन के तौर पे उसको बहुत ज्यादा अलुमनी देना पड़ता है। तो अगर मान लीजिए उस टाइम पे पॉलीगामी थी, 20 आदमी 20 एक आदमी 20 औरतों से शादी करता था, तो उससे प्रॉब्लम सबसे बड़ी यही आती थी कि उनको कोई राइट ही नहीं था प्रॉपर्टी का। तो जब प्रॉपर्टी का राइट नहीं था तो वो दे वर सो एजेड, तो डेथ होती थी, तो सती प्रथा वो फॉलो होती थी। तो उन्होंने एक तरीका अडॉप्ट किया, उन्होंने अपने एंशियंट शास्त्र से ही एक बड़ी विद्वता से उन्होंने एक एंशियंट शास्त्र से उन्होंने एक रास्ता निकाला, जिससे उन्होंने बताया कि एंशियंट शास्त्र ट्रेडिशन गिव दीज राइट विच वेर एनफोर्स्ड बाय मैन इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स बाय फॉल्टी इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ लीगल कोर्ट्स एंड कक्षरा एंड दगभार्या। तो अभी इसको बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में आई हैव नॉट स्टडीड, बट मोर ओवर और it increases that this system increases the polygamy. So the main reason was lack of economic rights to women, and women have no property rights. So men were allowed to marry so many women as well. So उन्होंने एंशिएंट शास्त्र से उन्होंने बताया कि अगर गर्ल चाइल्ड को भी प्रॉपर्टी में हिस्सा मिलने लगेगा तो ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी पॉलीगैमी की, और दैट वुड बी द एंड ऑफ द सती प्रथा। सो ही स्ट्रक्चर्ड अ ट्रिक, ही वाज वेल नोन टू ऑल द शास्त्रास, स्क्रिप्चर्स, मनुस्मृति एंड सूत्रा। So he mentioned equal share with the son on husbands property 1/4। तो इक्वल तो जो हस्बैंड के साथ होगा कि हस्बैंड जो इतनी भी मैरिजेस करेगा तो उसकी प्रॉपर्टी का आधा हिस्सा विमेन को मिलेगा, और अगर उसका भाई है तो सिस्टर के लिए भी 1/4 प्रॉपर्टी में हिस्सा मिलेगा, जिसके लिए उन्होंने एक बिल भी पास कराया था। तो वो बिल पास हो गया था। So that was all. So like J.S. Mill and Wollstonecraft, he said that women are not inferior or they are not slave of men. They have confined all women in domestic domain in chulha chauka. But nature has never uh, compared men and women. Women are not inferior, rather superior to men in some respects. Their inferiority due to denial of rights, education, knowledge, domestic courts. These are all about the domestic courts only, and he tried to avoid these types of restrictions for women. By his effort, this was declared illegal law in 1829. He also taught against child marriages and removing parda system from the society. So he was the champion of women's rights, no doubt in that. So nextly, what was the pillars of his social reforms? Improving women's condition, modern education, ending all social religion practices such as caste system, purification, sati pratha, child marriages, parda system, etc. Inhabiting intellectual flourishment of the individual against social comforts, utility, social political unity. In 1820, almost 2 years ago, he was first and foremost social reformer of India. So I have already told the views on education that modern scientific education in development and have civil and political. What are the multiple strategies for how this social became a scientific term for all and became the advanced example and model of for various countries because the multiple strategies were that invoking rational thinking, building public, reinventing tradition, selecting appropriate Hindu Shastra sutra to prove his point for reform. Modern English education, scientific education, not just for getting a job of clerk. seeking socially progressive legislation from colonial government. So if we want to study any language, if we want to study the global language, we have to attain the full knowledge, just not just for the career. Vision of cosmopolitan modern Indian based on the principle of reason and rationality, enlightenment, tolerance, liberty, equality, and fraternity, and which Nehru also keep it with. So these are the multiple strategies which became the social model, social reform model for all the countries. And what are the pillars of the social reforms? Improving women's condition and modern education, as well as the intellectual and scientific advancement. So why lastly I would like to say that why and he was first and foremost social reformer of modern India. He was an essential precondition of political liberation. Firstly, internationalism, religious and cultural, and un, and very much realistic. Social reform was an essential precondition of political liberation. We have learned from childhood about the Sati that we are politically uh, liberated from the independence. So how will you liberate yourself? How will you liberate yourself from the Mughal and the Rajput despotic and tyrannical rule? So he said that God, we have got a God-gift civilized culture. We have to democratize ourselves. We have to provide constitutional rights and political rights. So we all should be educated. Then only we can unite ourselves and we can attain knowledge and provide various cultures to our children. And why he is known as a Unitarian journalist? He was also a journalist. We will all know that he was the first to provide a freedom press in 1824. Raja Ram Mohan Roy established the Unitarian Mission Press in 1824 in Kolkata. At this time, he came into conflict with the Christian missionaries and published a series of pamphlets that Percepts of Jesus 1820 and appealed to the Christian public. The ideal humanity of Jesus he argued against the doctrine of atonement. Raja Ram Mohan Roy published his Brahmical magazine at this time, and the Calcutta Unitarian Committee was formed by him in 1821 as a protest against the Christian missionaries. So, in August 1828, he founded the Brahmo Samaj, which meant to be an assembly who believed in the unity of form. Then only he started himself to be known as the journalist. Rajaram Mohan Rao was not against Christianity or Hinduism. He was only against the corrupt and degenerated forms of religion and custom. So, Rajaram Mohan Roy was one of the earliest champions of the freedom of the press, like Milton and other scholars who fought for freedom of press. Roy championed the concept of freedom of written expressions, like Dwarkanath Tagore, Harchandra Ghosh, Gauri Charan Banerjee. Ram Mohan Roy had written a petition in 1823 addressed to Supreme Court for the freedom of the press. He strongly believed that not only would the freedom of press provide a device for the ventilation of grievances, it would also enable the government to adopt steps for their redressal before they cause damage to the administration. Roy also felt that the uncritical acceptance of British liberal values was probably the best possible means of creating democratic institutions in India. He appreciated the this guys would eventually transform he championed gender equality. Roy published Jesus, the Pursuit of Jesus is 1920 and 1828. William Adam with financial help from Roy and later from Unitarian in the United Nations detained from the Calcutta Unitarian Society. Roy also funded the various societies in the press. However, although he identified that as closer to the ethical monotheism is espoused, he wanted to ground his religious ideas in the cultural context of India. So Roy corresponded with some eminent leaders in this period. So lastly, I would like to sum up and assessment of my lecture, that how overall assessment and sum up of my lecture, that how Raja Ram Mohan Roy has has been known as the Renaissance thinker and foremost modern thinker of India. मतलब, it was too harsh criticism undermining his modernity and liberalizing role. First, to talk on social scientific advancement, he saw hope in British rule for social reforms, religious reform, civil rights, economic and development, greater integration of India. With the World Committee, a kind of Indian Renaissance. He's the first towards improving women's condition and the freedom of press, modern education, translation of humanist culture, etc. But path breaking intellect, vision, and pragmatism to compare colonial rule with the Muslim and Rajput rulers. And whereas his liberal and capitalism versus feudal economic system is concerned, it was very much comprehensive in that role. He had the wisdom and courage to defend as well as criticize his own faith. Earlier, I told that he used to question himself. He want to satisfy himself by reading various scriptures and various gathas and the books. See similar codes in other faiths and reading to take good elements from other faiths and culture. Truly, he was called the father of modern India. Gopal Krishna Gokhale uh, told him, named him as the pioneer of Indian Renaissance by many, and a luminous star in the firmament of Indian history by R.N. Tagore. And that's all from my side, and I have concluded my lecture. And lastly, I would like to say that it was through a spiritual and mental revival Raja Ram Mohan Roy wanted to regenerate the Indian people and unite them into national uh, fraternity. He was the man who uh, he was the man who never ignored the things. He was the man who acknowledged the freedom of thought and conscience, and his equality with other fellow men were considered as fundamentals of liberalism. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving us, for comprehensively telling us about everything, all the aspects of Raja Ram Mohan thought. Now I invite if anyone wants to ask any question, or Rajni sir or Vikas sir want to add on to something.
Exactly. First of all, I would like to congratulate Manoj. You have delivered your lecture comprehensively on Raja Ram Mohan Rai contribution for the Indian society. Okay. So मेरा एक तुमसे प्रश्न है, एक क्वेरी भी कह सकते हो, कि जब भी हम सोशल चेंज के बारे में बात करते हैं, चाहे वो इंडियन फेनोमेना हो या फिर एक वेस्टर्न फेनोमेना हो, जिस भी हम सोसाइटी में चेंज को ले आने की बात कर रहे होते हैं, तो उस चेंज को ले आने के लिए इसके पहले के भी लेक्चर्स में मैंने एक दो बार बात बोली है, उस पूरे जो सोशल रिफॉर्म है, उस पूरे सोशल रिफॉर्म को ले आने की जो प्रोसेस है, उसको हम दो तरीके से डील करते हैं। एक तरीका हमारे पास होता है कि हम उसको स्ट्रक्चरल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की तरफ जाते हैं। दूसरा हमारे पास एक मैकेनिज्म होता है जिसमें हम जो है स्ट्रक्चरल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की बात ना करके वहां पे हम एक इवोल्यूशनरी तरीका अपनाते हैं, ठीक है, या डेमोक्रेटिक तरीका अपनाते हैं, ग्रेजुअल चेंज की तरफ हम जाते हैं। इसको एक दूसरे संदर्भ में भी हम कहते हैं कि रिवोल्यूशनरी मैकेनिज्म एंड इवोल्यूशनरी मैकेनिज्म। लेकिन मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि जब भी हम थर्ड वर्ल्ड में सोशल चेंज के बारे में बात कर रहे होते हैं और सोशल इस पूरे सोशियो पॉलिटिकल एंड इकोनॉमिक चेंज को एक जो एक प्रक्रिया के तहत ले आने की बात रही है, थर्ड वर्ल्ड के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में स्पेसिफिकली मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, वो खास करके एक स्ट्रक्चरल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की तरफ वो आगे गए हैं, जहां पर एक मार्क्सिस्ट पैराडाइम को वो एक बेस बनाकर आगे बढ़ते हैं। दूसरी तरफ जब हम इंडियन फिनोमेना में इंटर करते हैं और उस सोशल चेंज की को ले आने का प्रयास करते हैं, तो हमारे यहाँ उस स्ट्रक्चरल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की बात नहीं होती है। हम लोग एक डेमोक्रेटिक फॉर्म में बात कर रहे हैं, इन दैट सेंस कि हम एक लिबरल पैटर्न पे बात कर रहे होते हैं, या हम ये कह सकते हैं कि एक ग्रेजुअल चेंज के बारे में या इवोल्यूशनरी चेंज के बारे में बात कर रहे होते हैं। जो एक कंडीशन है वो ये है कि कहां तक ये बात बहुत जायज है, ये कहां तक ये बात बहुत जस्टिफाई है, तुमको आपको लगती है कि ये जो इवोल्यूशनरी मैकेनिज्म है सोशल चेंज, सोशियो इकोनॉमिक एंड पॉलिटिकल चेंज को ले आने का, वो इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में उतना ही कारगर सिद्ध होगा? आपको कहां तक ये बात जायज लगती है? और डू यू थिंक दैट कि स्ट्रक्चरल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की तरफ हमें जाना चाहिए या रिवोल्यूशनरी चेंज की तरफ हमें जाना चाहिए? इस पे तुम्हारा अपना टेक क्या है?
जी सर, जैसा आपने बताया कि स्ट्रक्चर और रिवॉल्यूशनरी, सर, क्योंकि जब हम रिवोल्यूशनरी चेंज की बात अगर हम करें तो इट इज़ अ वेरी लॉन्ग प्रोसेस। और अगर वो रिवोल्यूशनरी प्रोसेस में अगर हम जाएंगे, जैसे कि राजा राम मोहन रॉय ने भी उन्होंने किया था, एक उनको अभी भी इतना ज़्यादा कंसीडर नहीं करते हैं हिस्ट्री में और हमारे सोशल साइंस में, कि राजा राम मोहन रॉय को अभी भी वो वैल्यू नहीं मिल पाई है, क्योंकि उनका जो चेंज लाने का तरीका था वो कहीं उन्होंने अडॉप्ट किया था जो कि स्ट्रक्चरल था। और वो कहीं ना कहीं हर बात को लिंक करते हुए, चाहे वो सती प्रथा को लॉर्ड विलियम बेंटिक के थ्रू उन्होंने बिल पास करवाया हो, और एक लीगल वे गए, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रिफॉर्म की तरफ गए, और चाहे वो फ्रीडम ऑफ प्रेस की बात हो, 1824 की बात हो, या फिर वो गए हो, उन्होंने सती प्रथा को जो एक ट्रिकी तरीके से, जब उस समय कोई भी लॉज नहीं बने हुए थे, तब उन्होंने जाकर के एक स्ट्रक्चरल मेथड अडॉप्ट किया। उन्होंने कहा कि हमारे जो शास्त्रों में लिखा हुआ है कि जो 1/4 जो है प्रॉपर्टी है, वो सिस्टर को भी मिलनी चाहिए और उनका भी हेरिटेज होना चाहिए उनकी प्रॉपर्टी पे। तो सर, एज फार एज आई एम my views is concerned that कि structural change is very much long run, वो सब बहुत लंबे समय के लिए रहेगा। और रिवोल्यूशनरी चेंजेस कुछ समय के लिए होता है, और हमारा उस पर बहुत ज्यादा देर तक हमारा स्टैंड नहीं हो पाता है। जैसा कि हम बहुत सारे अनटचेबिलिटी, जो रिजर्वेशन या अनटचेबिलिटी में भी हम बात करते हैं कि जब रेवोल्यूशन होता है तो रेवोल्यूशन हमारे बहुत सारे फॉर्म में होता है, लेकिन हम वो चेंजेस नहीं ला पाता है, और एक बैक आता है और वो कदम, चाहे वो 2013 से वो लोकपाल बिल का वो जो प्रोटेस्ट रहा हो, एक तरीके का बहुत बड़ा वो जो अन्ना की आंधी नाम से जो रेवोल्यूशन पूरा चला था। तो स्ट्रक्चरल जब तक हम नहीं जाएंगे, पूरा एक हम मैकेनिज्म अडॉप्ट करके नहीं जाएंगे, कहीं ना कहीं उसको एक हम लॉ लेकर के नहीं जाएंगे, तो हम उस पर हम आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते। क्योंकि जब उन्होंने फ्रीडम ऑफ प्रेस की बात उन्होंने की थी, तो वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट गए थे 1824 में, और उन्होंने बात की थी, और वहां पर उन्होंने अपना जो है संवाद कमेटी के थ्रू उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा प्रयास किया, और उन्होंने आगे बढ़ चढ़ के फ्रीडम प्रेस की फ्रीडम की बात की। सबसे पहले वही व्यक्ति थे। तो वो कहीं ना कहीं स्ट्रक्चरल चेंजेस हम अब सोसाइटी में देखने को पाते हैं। और जो लैंडमार्क है हमारे लिए, पूरी हमारे हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया के लिए, जो सती प्रथा है, भले ही जब क्वेश्चन आता है तो लॉर्ड विलियम बेंटिक का नाम होता है, बट ही वाज द मैन हु पास द बिल, बट जो उनके बिहाइंड द थे वो थे राजा राम मोहन रॉय। So as far as my take is concerned, structural mechanism is required for attaining any type of changes. Hello.
Okay. Yes, it's very, very good, and you have analyzed very well. And again, congratulate for your comprehensive lecture. Okay.
Thank you, sir. But there are, I'm seeing that only 4 people left. So I'm not understanding why they have left. There's so many people. I was talking that.
let me clear, Manoj ji. First of all, congratulations for your gigantic lecture. एक्चुअली लेक्चर का जो मैकेनिज्म था वो हम लोग का 40 मिनट का था। 7:40 में हम लोग लेक्चर खत्म करते थे और 50 मिनट का हमारा डिस्कशन होता था। आप तो चूंकि जुड़े रहे हैं, सब कुछ देखते रहे हैं, लेकिन लेक्चर क्या हुआ, सीधे डबल हो गया। और डबल होने की प्रक्रिया में क्या हुआ कि
सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट यू सर, इतना सारा उनका सर जब मैं पढ़ रहा था, जब से मुझे पता लगा कि मुझे उस पर करना है, प्रेजेंट करना है, तो मैं देख रहा था देयर वर सो मेनी एस्पेक्ट। अभी भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो छूट चुकी हैं और मैं उसको कहीं ना कहीं उसको रीड आउट कर रहा हूँ।
अंडरस्टैंड मनोज जी, अगर हमको आप पहले बताए होते तो हम इसको 2 भाग में बांट देते, लेक्चर 1 लेक्चर 2 कर देते। जैसे देखिए हम लोगों ने प्रशांत का जो लेक्चर था उसको 2 भागों में बांटा है, एक ही हुआ है, एक अभी बाकी है। तो अगर ऐसा कुछ हुआ होता
सर,
बताया
आई वाज़न्ट अवेयर कि सर अगर मुझे जरा सा भी पता होता तो फिर मैं इसको मैं लेक्चर तो डेली अटेंड करता हूँ। हार्डली आई हैव स्किप्ड 1 or 2 लेक्चर्स, बट आई हैव अटेंडेड ऑल द क्वेश्चन आर आल्सो।
नो इशू।
और हम लोग बहुत लाभान्वित हैं इस बात से कि इतना अच्छा लेक्चर है। दूसरा ये है कि ये रिकॉर्डिंग है, मतलब ये रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है सारा लेक्चर हमारा, तो ये तो हमारे लिए एक असेट है जो इतना बड़ा है। बट उसमें क्या हुआ कि इंटरेक्शन जो है हमारा वो थोड़ा स्क्वीज हो गया। अगर हम इसको 2 भागों में बांट दिए होते, लेक्चर 1 लेक्चर 2, तो कुछ डायमेंशन हम पहले में रखते, कुछ डायमेंशन बाद में रखते।
नेक्स्ट टाइम आई विल ट्राई कि अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है तो फिर सर जब आई हैव बीन टोल्ड ऑन 20th अप्रैल बाय डॉक्टर विकास शुक्ला सर, with the part of the circle team, so
there is no issue.
So I was so keen to express my views.
हाँ, मैं
from that time
जो कहना चाह रहा था वो ये है कि जो मेरा अपना परसेप्शन है, जो मेरी अपनी परसीविंग है राजा राम मोहन राय को लेके, उसमें 2-3 चीजें हैं जो मैं समझता हूँ मैं शेयर करूँ और शायद आप मुझे करेक्ट करेंगे। पहला तो है कि राजा राम मोहन राय पहले ऐसे व्यक्ति दिखते हैं जिन्होंने उपनिषदों को ब्रिटिश लिबरल आइडियोलॉजी के साथ सिंथेसाइज किया। The first man who synthesized Indian Upanishad with the British liberalism.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Second thing, actively, intentionally, intervenient state को उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया, बिकॉज जो सोसाइटी में इनइक्वालिटीज थी, जो सोशल एबिल्स थे, उसके इराडिकेशन के लिए राजा राम मोहन राय ने स्टेट के इंटरवेंशन की वकालत की और ब्रिटिशर्स से उन्होंने इस बात का आग्रह किया कि यू मस्ट बी इंटरवेन एंड अबॉर्ट द सोशल सिचुएशन दैट इज प्रॉब्लमेटिक फॉर द वुमन एंड मोस्टली फॉर द विडो। और जो तीसरी बात है कि राजा राम मोहन राय का जो पूरा का पूरा चिंतन है वो कहीं ना कहीं इस बात की ओर इंगित करता है कि अभी भारत जो है इतना परिपक्व नहीं हुआ है कि उसे आज़ादी चाहिए। अभी वो ब्रिटिशर्स के साथ ही रहें और कुछ दिन और ज़्यादा मतलब सोसाइटी में जो चेंजेज हो जाएं, डिजायरेबल चेंजेज हो जाएं, उसके बाद ही फ्रीडम मिले। तो ये 3 मेरे टेक हैं मनोज जी, अगर इसमें कोई करेक्शन है तो आप जरूर करें ताकि हम लोग इससे और लाभान्वित हो सके।
नहीं सर, बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल आपने बिल्कुल सही मतलब बताया आपने, और इसमें सर कोई करेक्शन की कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है। और जहाँ तक राजा राम मोहन का मतलब उनके साइंटिफिक एडवांसमेंट का जो मेन मोटो था, तो जो जैसा से हमने पुनर्जागरण से रिलेट किया है, तो वो जो आपका है वो बिल्कुल सही है सर। और थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर एडिंग दिस फॉर माय लेक्चर।
और मैं पर्सनली मनोज जी आपसे कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ।